A new world order, Iran and Russia's strategic alliance against the West. The post-Cold War world order is now undergoing a dramatic shift. Iran and Russia are not just friendly nations, they are moving toward a strong strategic alliance against the West. But what's driving this growing partnership? US and EU sanctions. How have Western policies pushed Iran and Russia closer together? In recent years, both Iran and Russia have found themselves under heavy economic and political pressure from the West. The United States and the European Union have imposed extensive sanctions on Russia due to its invasion of Ukraine, and on Iran because of its nuclear program and regional policies. Isolated from the global financial system and international markets, both countries have been forced to look eastward, and toward each other, for strategic and economic partnerships. These shared struggles have created a foundation for deeper cooperation in trade, energy, defense, and diplomacy. Russia's isolation after the war in Ukraine and Iran stalled nuclear negotiations with the West. Following Russia's invasion of Ukraine, Moscow has faced unprecedented diplomatic and economic isolation from the Western world. Meanwhile, Iran's negotiations with the US and Europe over its nuclear program have reached a deadlock, with little progress and growing mistrust. These parallel developments have pushed both nations to seek alternatives outside the Western sphere of influence, bringing them into closer alignment with each other. Strengthening diplomatic ties between China, Russia, and Iran. In the face of increasing pressure and sanctions from the West, China, Russia, and Iran have been steadily deepening their diplomatic and strategic relations. This emerging triangle of cooperation is based not only on mutual economic interests but also on a shared vision of a multipolar world order, one that challenges US dominance and Western-centric global governance. China, as a global economic powerhouse, has signed long-term energy and infrastructure agreements with both Iran and Russia. Iran, in turn, sees Beijing and Moscow as crucial allies in breaking out of its international isolation. Meanwhile, Russia views both countries as key partners in building alternative global systems, such as non-dollar trade networks, military coordination, and joint diplomatic fronts in institutions like the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, SCO, and BRICS. This strengthening alliance signals a potential shift in global power dynamics, where East-facing cooperation could reshape economic and political alliances in Asia, the Middle East, and beyond. Energy, military cooperation, and technology exchange, what the deal really includes. This strategic alliance goes far beyond political statements. Recent agreements between Iran and Russia include major developments in military, energy, and technology cooperation. As part of its growing military cooperation with Russia, Iran has made significant advancements in its defense capabilities, notably through the acquisition of Russia's advanced S-300 air defense systems and Sukhoi fighter jets. The S-300, a highly sophisticated surface-to-air missile system, provides Iran with enhanced defense against aerial threats, such as drones, fighter jets, and ballistic missiles. With the growing regional tensions and the perceived threat from Israel and the United States, Iran's purchase of the S-300 system is a clear demonstration of its intent to strengthen its defense perimeter and safeguard critical infrastructure from potential airstrikes. In addition to the S-300, Iran has also expanded its air force by acquiring Sukhoi fighter jets, particularly the Su-30 and Su-35 models. These fourth-generation jets significantly boost Iran's air superiority, giving it enhanced capabilities for air-to-air combat, precision strikes, and long-range missions. The Su-30 and Su-35, which are among the most advanced fighter aircraft in Russia's arsenal, provide Iran with a much-needed upgrade to its aging fleet of F-14 Tomcats and other obsolete aircraft. The decision to purchase these weapon systems highlights the growing defense ties between Russia and Iran, particularly as both nations face common adversaries in the Middle East. For Russia, selling advanced military technology to Iran is not only an economic opportunity but also a strategic move to expand its influence in the region, countering U.S. dominance and bolstering its position in the broader geopolitical competition. One of the most striking aspects of Iran and Russia's growing military cooperation is the use of Iranian-made Shahed kamikaze drones by Russia, particularly in the ongoing war in Ukraine. The Shahed series, which includes the Shahed 136 and Shahed 131, is a line of low-cost, high-impact unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, designed for precision strikes. These drones are essentially flying bombs that, once launched, dive into their target, usually military or infrastructure sites, causing significant damage. For Russia, these drones represent a powerful tool to enhance its capabilities without the expense and complexity of high-tech fighter jets or missiles. They are particularly useful for targeting Ukrainian military installations, energy infrastructure, and supply lines. The Shahed drones, being cheap and easily producible in large quantities, allow Russia to conduct devastating aerial attacks while minimizing its reliance on more expensive weapons systems. The use of Shahed drones in Ukraine has been widely reported, with Ukrainian officials and military experts pointing out that these drones have become a significant threat to both military and civilian infrastructure. Their ability to fly undetected at low altitudes, combined with their explosive payload, makes them highly effective in disrupting Ukrainian defense systems. This has led to a dramatic increase in air defense systems being deployed by Ukraine in an effort to counter the Shaheds. For Iran, this collaboration is not just about strengthening ties with Russia. It is also a significant step forward in the development and proliferation of its military technology. The Shahed drones are part of a broader strategy by Tehran to establish itself as a major player in the unmanned aerial vehicle market, which is increasingly in demand due to their cost-effectiveness and ability to execute precise attacks. Furthermore, the Shahed drones' deployment in Ukraine showcases Iran's expanding influence in global military affairs, particularly in areas where it has often been marginalized by Western powers. International North-South Transport Corridor, a new trade route linking Russia and India via Iran. The International North-South Transport Corridor is a groundbreaking multimodal transport network that aims to connect Russia, Iran, and India through a series of rail, road, and sea routes. This ambitious project, which is designed to reduce the time and cost of shipping goods between these countries, has emerged as a critical element in the shifting geopolitical landscape. The International North-South Transport Corridor is poised to become a key alternative to traditional maritime routes controlled by the West, particularly the Suez Canal, and offers a direct trade route linking the resource-rich Russian Federation to the growing markets of India, while passing through Iran's strategically positioned ports and land infrastructure. The corridor is expected to significantly shorten the travel time for goods between Russia and India. Traditionally, the journey between these two countries via sea takes approximately 40 days, but with the International North-South Transport Corridor, this time could be reduced to just 15 days. The route passes through Iran's Chabahar port and its rail systems, linking them with Russia's Volga and Caspian regions, before extending into India's northern states. This enhanced connectivity is especially important in the context of both Russia and Iran's strained relations with the West and the rising tensions in global trade networks. By establishing this corridor, Iran plays a pivotal role as a bridge between the East and the West, facilitating the flow of goods, energy, and raw materials. For Russia, the INSTC presents a way to circumvent Western sanctions, offering an alternative trade route that bypasses European and US-dominated shipping lanes. For India, the corridor represents a strategic opportunity to strengthen its ties with Russia and gain access to new markets in Central Asia and Europe. The International North-South Transport Corridor is more than just an economic corridor, it is a geopolitical tool that enhances the strategic cooperation between these three nations. With the development of the INSTC, Iran, Russia, and India are not only reshaping regional trade routes but also counterbalancing Western influence in the region, positioning themselves as major players in the future of global commerce and diplomacy. Nuclear cooperation, Russia providing technical support for Iran's civilian nuclear program. One of the most significant aspects of the growing partnership between Russia and Iran is their cooperation in the field of nuclear technology. Russia has played a crucial role in providing Iran with the necessary technical support to develop its civilian nuclear program, which is a cornerstone of Tehran's energy strategy. This collaboration dates back to the early 2000s and has only deepened over time, especially in the face of escalating tensions between Iran and the West. At the heart of this nuclear cooperation is the construction of Iran's Bushehr nuclear power plant, which is the first nuclear power plant in Iran. Russia's state-owned nuclear company, Rosatom, has been instrumental in building and operating this facility, supplying Iran with the technology and expertise required to harness nuclear energy for peaceful purposes. The Bushehr plant, which began operations in 2011, is designed to help Iran meet its growing domestic energy needs and reduce its reliance on fossil fuels, which are both finite and environmentally damaging. Beyond Bushehr, Russia has also assisted Iran in enriching uranium for civilian purposes, providing technical expertise for Iran's nuclear fuel cycle. This collaboration includes the training of Iranian engineers and scientists, the provision of specialized equipment, and the transfer of nuclear reactor designs. Russia's involvement is seen as a critical counterbalance to Western attempts to isolate Iran's nuclear program and prevent it from developing the capability for nuclear weapons. However, this nuclear cooperation has also raised concerns in the West, particularly in the context of the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, also known as the Iran nuclear deal. While the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action aimed to restrict Iran's nuclear ambitions in exchange for sanctions relief, Russia's support for Iran's nuclear program has been seen by some as undermining the deal's goals. Russia, however, has consistently argued that its cooperation with Iran is solely for peaceful, civilian purposes and complies with international non-proliferation standards. For Iran, this partnership with Russia not only provides access to advanced nuclear technology but also strengthens its position in the broader geopolitical landscape. By aligning with Russia on nuclear issues, Iran gains a powerful ally that has substantial influence in global diplomacy, particularly in the context of nuclear non-proliferation and energy security. For Russia, the partnership serves as a way to assert its influence in the Middle East, expand its presence in the global nuclear energy market, and counterbalance US and European dominance in the region. The Ukraine war and Middle East crises: is an Iran-Russia power bloc emerging? Iranian drones are appearing on the battlefield in Ukraine. In the Gaza crisis, Tehran and Moscow share strong anti-Western narratives. Is this just coincidence, or are we witnessing the birth of a new global power bloc? Iranian drones supplied to Russia for use in Ukraine. The role of Iranian-made drones, particularly the Shahed series, has become one of the most notable elements in the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine. Iran's Shahed drones, including the Shahed 136 and Shahed 131, have been supplied to Russia as part of their growing military cooperation. These kamikaze drones, which are designed to carry out suicide missions by crashing into their targets, have been increasingly used by Russia to target Ukrainian military infrastructure, energy grids, and other critical civilian and defense assets. The Shahed drones are known for their low cost and simplicity compared to more advanced drones or missile systems, making them an attractive option for Russia in its prolonged conflict with Ukraine. While they are less sophisticated than some other drones, their strategic effectiveness lies in their ability to carry out large-scale, low-cost attacks that overwhelm Ukraine's air defense systems. They can be deployed in swarms, allowing Russia to create significant disruptions with relatively little expenditure. The drones' effectiveness has drawn attention worldwide, particularly due to their widespread use in Russia's air campaign against Ukraine. These Shaheds are able to fly at low altitudes, making them harder to detect by radar, and their relatively small size makes them difficult to intercept by Ukraine's air defense systems. They have caused considerable damage to Ukraine's infrastructure, including power plants, bridges, and military outposts, further crippling the country's ability to function under wartime conditions. The use of these drones also highlights the growing defense ties between Russia and Iran. This collaboration allows both countries to bypass traditional restrictions placed by Western powers. For Russia, which has been increasingly isolated due to international sanctions, Iran provides a source of affordable, effective weaponry that can be deployed rapidly and in large numbers. For Iran, this partnership provides an opportunity to demonstrate its military technology on the global stage. The Shahed drones are an example of Iran's growing capabilities in unmanned aerial vehicle production and their ability to supply such weapons to other countries. Furthermore, the use of Iranian drones in Ukraine enhances Tehran's position as a key player in regional and global security dynamics, especially as it counters the West's influence in the Middle East and beyond. The cooperation between Russia and Iran in the drone sector marks a significant development in both countries' military strategies, particularly as they work together to overcome shared challenges posed by Western sanctions and international isolation. This collaboration has not only impacted the battlefield in Ukraine but has also set a precedent for further military and technological exchanges between Russia and Iran in the future. Iran and Russia's unified stance and statements following the Gaza-Israel conflict. Following the recent escalation of violence between Gaza and Israel, Iran and Russia have presented a united front in their diplomatic statements and stances on the conflict. Both countries have strongly condemned Israel's military actions in Gaza and expressed unwavering support for Palestinian rights, further solidifying their partnership in international politics, particularly in the Middle East. Iran, a staunch supporter of Palestinian groups like Hamas and Islamic Jihad, has long been critical of Israel's policies and military operations in Gaza. Tehran's statements following the recent conflict were vocal in their condemnation of Israel's airstrikes, calling them acts of aggression and a violation of international law. Iran has used the situation to reiterate its commitment to Palestinian sovereignty, denouncing the continued occupation of Palestinian territories and urging international actors to hold Israel accountable for its actions. Russia, while traditionally maintaining a more balanced diplomatic approach, has also condemned the violence and expressed deep concern over the humanitarian situation in Gaza. Russian officials have called for an immediate ceasefire and emphasized the importance of negotiations based on international law and UN resolutions. However, Russia's stance has been notably aligned with Iran's condemnation of Israeli actions, reflecting a shared perspective on the need for stronger international action to protect Palestinian civilians and ensure a just resolution to the conflict. This unified stance between Iran and Russia represents a deepening of their geopolitical alliance, particularly in the context of their shared opposition to U.S. influence in the Middle East. Both nations have historically sought to challenge Western hegemony in the region, and the Gaza-Israel conflict has provided them with an opportunity to publicly align their foreign policies. Russia's alignment with Iran on this issue further illustrates how Moscow is distancing itself from its Western counterparts, who have traditionally been more supportive of Israel, and instead is positioning itself as a key player in advocating for Palestinian rights and a more multipolar approach to Middle Eastern diplomacy. The timing of this unified stance is also significant, as it comes amidst growing international pressure on Israel, particularly from Arab nations and global civil society. Iran and Russia's statements highlight their shared interest in strengthening ties with other regional powers, including Turkey and Arab states, who have increasingly vocalized their criticism of Israel's policies. By aligning on the Gaza issue, Iran and Russia are also signaling to the international community that they are committed to shaping the future of Middle Eastern geopolitics, where the voices of countries in the region, particularly those advocating for Palestinian sovereignty, are more prominent. This strategic alignment not only reinforces Iran and Russia's joint opposition to Western policies but also demonstrates their willingness to collaborate on diplomatic and humanitarian issues, especially in a region as volatile as the Middle East. The Gaza-Israel conflict thus serves as a focal point for a broader geopolitical realignment, where Iran and Russia are positioning themselves as key actors advocating for the rights of Palestinians and a more balanced approach to Middle Eastern affairs. Joint action in Syria, Russian military and Iran's Revolutionary Guard supporting the Assad regime. The Syrian civil war, which has been ongoing since 2011, has drawn in numerous international actors, each with its own strategic interests. Among the most significant of these actors are Russia and Iran, both of which have played crucial roles in supporting the regime of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. Their involvement in Syria has been marked by joint military actions, with Russia providing air support and advanced military technology, while Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, has deployed ground forces and provided critical support to Syrian loyalist forces. Russia's involvement in Syria began in 2015, when it launched airstrikes against anti-Assad groups, including both moderate rebels and extremist factions. Russia's intervention was pivotal in shifting the momentum of the war in Assad's favor, helping to reclaim large swaths of territory that had been lost to opposition forces. Moscow's air superiority, coupled with its provision of sophisticated weaponry to Syrian forces, has been a game-changer in the conflict. Russian fighter jets, along with artillery and military advisors, have directly supported Syrian ground forces, playing a key role in the recapture of cities like Aleppo and eastern Ghouta. On the other hand, Iran's involvement in Syria has been primarily focused on supporting Assad's forces through the deployment of the IRGC and allied militias, including Hezbollah from Lebanon. Iran's goal is to maintain its influence in Syria and preserve a crucial supply route for arms and fighters to its allies in Lebanon and beyond. The IRGC has worked closely with Syrian military units, providing strategic guidance, training, and sometimes direct combat support. Iran has also sent thousands of fighters from various militia groups, particularly from Iraq and Afghanistan, to bolster Assad's forces on the ground. The joint Russian and Iranian support for the Assad regime has not only been military in nature but also political. Both Moscow and Tehran view the preservation of the Assad government as crucial to maintaining their respective influence in the region. For Russia, Syria is a key ally in the Middle East, providing Moscow with a strategic foothold in the Mediterranean. Russia's naval base in Tartus and its air base in Mymimim are vital to its power projection in the region, particularly in its competition with NATO and the US. For Iran, the survival of Assad is equally vital as it provides Tehran with direct influence over Syria and ensures the continuity of the axis of resistance against Western and Israeli interests. Syria serves as a vital conduit for Iran's logistical and military support to Hezbollah in Lebanon and other militant groups in the region. The Iranian presence in Syria is also seen as a strategic buffer zone for Tehran, keeping US and Israeli forces at bay. Despite their shared interest in supporting Assad, Russia and Iran have occasionally had differences in their approach. While Russia's focus has largely been on preserving Assad's rule through military intervention and diplomatic negotiations, Iran has been more deeply involved in the ground-level dynamics, often employing local militias and irregular forces to fight on behalf of the regime. These differences, however, have not undermined their broader alliance, as both countries remain committed to ensuring the survival of Assad's government. The partnership between Russia and Iran in Syria has had far-reaching implications for the broader Middle Eastern geopolitics. It has strengthened the ties between the two nations, cementing their strategic cooperation and signaling their willingness to challenge Western influence in the region. The ongoing conflict in Syria continues to be a focal point for Russian and Iranian interests, with both nations using their involvement to reshape the regional balance of power in their favor. Iran and Russia are no longer just allies, they're shaping up to become a new global axis of power. This alliance could redefine not only the Middle East, but the entire geopolitical landscape. What do you think this partnership will lead to? Let us know in the comments.